because it lets me deal with characters, who are interesting but are not in the mainstream of the book, like Joan and Michael. I wrote a novella called The Space Between about Joan Mackenzie, who is Marcelet's younger sister, and Michael Murray, who is young Ian's older brother, and their life in France and an adventure there. And I've written a number of others, but now I'm writing a fresh 3 for Dromer, and they will have that book probably by the middle of next year. I have the first novella written, the second one will be done by the end of the year, probably have the third one by March. So you may get that book next year, you may get The Outlandish Companion next year, and you won't get book 9 next year, but you will get it eventually. Oh, and some new translations, I forgot. You will get new translations. You will, in fact, because the first 3 books were translated by Gabaldon, and they had teams of translators do it, as well as cutting out large chunks of the book while they did it. This was not very satisfactory. And one of the reasons why we changed publishers was that they had agreed to let Barbara retranslate those first 3 books, in which she is doing a spectacular job. And she is in the middle of translating Dragonfly and Ember, but that will be out next year in the new translation. 1st of December, this year? Oh, okay. Is there someone in the back there?
Short question. Since the filming of the 2nd season of the show started today, how is your involvement in that? Are you still consulting, or are you just writing the books? We're hoping to get early.
I am still a consultant on the show, and basically that means that they show me the outlines for the scripts, they show me the scripts themselves, and they also show me the daily footage. So since they didn't start filming today, I am hoping to see some footage tomorrow.
Follow up, short. When can we expect the first or the next steps? Seeing first episode?
Season 2 be on?
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, in 2016, but I don't know exactly when. Probably around April would be my best guess, but that's only a guess. Yeah, you had a question? Or?
I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
Are you planning to write a new novel?
Am I planning to write a new Lord John novel? Yes, I am, as a matter of fact. I have to explain how it is that he came to marry Isabel, amongst other things. So yes, that will be coming along. I'm not sure where in the progress of things, but that 3rd novella that I'm writing for the collection is a Lord John story as well. And then there will be a full-grown novella.
That makes me follow the next question. When you have an idea about a scene, do you stay with one story, or do you switch between novels?
Oh, do I stay with one story or switch between novels? I switch if something comes up. As I work with a book, like I say, it's very piecemeal. I write in little bits and pieces. I don't write in a straight line or with an outline. So, if I'm working in this slow fashion, there's room for things to bubble up from the other books, like the piece that I read you there that just popped up one day, so I wrote it down. So, yeah, I have to write it down when it comes, because, that's enough to get you take it when it comes. Yeah. Yeah, there you are.
What's your writing process like? I mean, where do you like to write, or do you listen to any kind of music while you're writing?
Oh, what is my writing routine like? Well, I am a night owl. I always like to work at night because that's when I'm awake. And so my main writing time is between midnight and 4 a.m. I do also write during the day to some extent. But my husband likes to get up very early, which is very good. And so when our children were small, he would get up, get them breakfast and shoo them off to school. And then he would go to bed at 9, and I would be the night watch. I would be there to help with homework or get people from parties or help them if they had an emotional crisis, which teenagers do in the middle of the night. And so he always says he can go to bed with a clear conscience, knowing I'm on guard. Of course, now our children are grown. They're 33, 31, and 29 at the moment. So we don't need to do that anymore, but we still have the same rhythm. And so I will, say goodnight to him, put him in bed at 9. People often say to me, especially women, they say, I would really like to write a book, but my husband doesn't want me to. He feels I'm taking too much attention away from him. And I said, well, it's easy. I said, you take him to bed, wear him out, and then when he's gone to sleep, you go and write. Anyway, then I lie down on the couch with a book and the two dogs, and after a few minutes I'll fall asleep if no one calls or needs me, and they mostly don't. So I'll wake up naturally around midnight and go up to work, and then come back down around 4:30 and go to bed for real, and get up again at 8:30, and then I get up slowly and do exercise and things like that. And I'll take the dogs for their morning walk and then come back and answer a little email. Usually around 11 I have enough mind going to be able to do a little work, so we'll do some before lunch. My husband comes home for lunch, we'll go and eat together. And then I'll probably work for another hour after I come back, and then I go and do the household errands, the shopping, or get my nails done, or take the dog to the vet, or whatever. Yes, that counts as a household errand. It's a high part of the household. And anyway, then we have dinner around 7:30 or 8. I do the cooking, and he cleans up, which has been our agreement since we got married, and it's a really good one. At least if you like to cook, which I don't really do. But that's about it. That's when I'm not traveling. When I am traveling, I still usually will work for an hour or two late at night when everything is over. But I can't stay up as late as I normally do because I have to get up early to travel to the next place. Yeah. Was there someone over there? Oh, there. Yeah. Oh, you. Yes.
Do you even have the end of the series in your mind, or?
Do I have the end of the series in my mind? Well, no, not really. I have seen the very last scene of the last book that showed up about 15 years ago, and I wrote it down. But it's not really an end in terms of how the plot ends. It's more of an epilogue thing. So I've seen the end of the book, but I don't know what the end of the story is, and I have no idea how we'll get there. But it always works eventually. Oh, about the cameo with the show. Yeah, they had invited me and my husband to come out to the set and spend 10 days with them, seeing everything and all that, which is cool. And then they said to me, would you like to be an extra? Because we're doing this huge scene in the Great Hall with all these, fancily dressed people, and it will be spectacular, and there will be all the press there and all that. So would you like to be an extra in the crowd? I said, well, sure, why not? Give the fans something to do. They can be looking for me. Where's Walden? And anyway, they wrote back a few weeks later and said, well, we've been thinking about this. If you are an extra, you'll have to stand in one spot for 3 days because you can't move, or everything else will be thrown out of whack. They said, but this gets tiresome easily. So we decided what we would do is give you a cameo. That is, you can have speaking lines. It's just a little tiny scenelet with like 2 lines. But since you're doing that, you can just be filmed doing that. As soon as we have enough footage of that, then you can go without disturbing anything. I said, okay, fine. So they wrote me a little part in which I exchanged barbed words with Mrs. Fitzgibbons. But it was very interesting. I had to go down to the local university and have their drama department measure me because it takes very specialized measurements for the costuming. And they made me this fabulous costume. People ask, oh, did you get to keep your costume? Which the answer is no, and it's just as well because it took 3 people to put me into it. There's no way I could wear it by myself. But it was a lot of fun. Principally, it was the acting part was really not difficult. I got to spend half an hour with a dialect coach learning the proper Scottish accent for my lines. I actually have a Scottish son-in-law. Our youngest daughter married a nice young Scotsman from Edinburgh. And after this, we were having dinner with him and his parents, and he asked me what I say is my line. So I did, and he looked at me in surprise and said, that's actually good. I'm so glad to hear it. But beyond that, for 2 days, I worked just the same way the actors do. That is, they give you what are called sheets at the end of the day, which amongst other things tells you what time you're going to be picked up the next day, and also, how many days they think you'll be on stage, and a lot of other information. But, they come and pick you up at 4:30 or 5 in the morning because you have to be there at a specific time so you can be made up, so you can then have your hair put on, or a wig, and so that then they can take you to where you're supposed to be next. And it runs very split second, it's very well organized. And you are always accompanied by a minion of some kind. Someone is always with you with a walkie-talkie, and they say, well, I'm moving from the trailers to sound stage 1 with Diana, and so forth, so they know you're coming. And I don't know who is monitoring all this, but obviously someone is. But it's just very, very precise. And the unsettling thing is that they treat you exactly like a package. They're delivering you from hand to hand to hand. And they're very kind and respectful. They asked me on the way to make up what I like for breakfast, and I said, sure, what do you got? And they said, well, anything you want. So I said, well, bacon, eggs, toast. They said, fine. And sure enough, as soon as I came back from makeup to my trailer, there they were with the bacon, eggs, and toast. And so I had just time to eat it, and the costume people showed up and started stuffing me into my costume. I shouldn't have eaten the bacon and eggs. And then they towed me off and so forth. Anyway, they know where you are every moment of the time because you have to be where you're supposed to be so you don't hold up all these other people who are actually running the show. And in the midst of this, I had a quick break with Sam Hewitt, and I said to him, well, now I know what your life is like. It's indentured servitude. He laughed and said, yeah, it is. He says, they know when you go to the restroom, and they know if you spend too long in there. And but yeah, it was a lot of fun. Oh, thank you.
Small question. Would you ever consider adapting your content from future episodes in the series? Or would you like to see how the creator take that content and adapt it?
Oh, would I write a script for the show, do you know? Yeah. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see how things happen. Ron asked me when we talked the show over before he had even taken it to Stars. He said, would you be interested in writing an episode? And I said, well, I don't think so. I said two things. I don't want to be responsible for screwing up this very vital first season. I've never written a script before, so I figure I could probably write one in the fullness of time, but I don't want anything, to depend on the success of my doing so right now. I said the other thing is that I was getting close to what I call the final frenzy of Written in My Own Heart's Blood. That's when I know everything about a book, and it's like just being connected to electricity all of the time. I don't do anything but eat, sleep, and write. That's it. Everything else goes away. And I said, if I hit that, I can't be writing scripts and being on set and things like that. I said, later, if we get a second season, if we get a third season somewhere down the line, then maybe we'll see. So. Ah.
Wie entscheiden Sie, wo ein Buch aufhört? Ist das eine bestimmte Stelle in der Geschichte, so da hört das Buch jetzt auf, oder ist einfach, es sind jetzt 1000 Seiten, ich muss das Buch zu Ende sein?
You decide when to end the book. You just say, I've reached a certain number of pages, so I have to time the end, or how does the end come to be?
The book tells me when it's done.
Okay. She just typed the end. Wasn't that how the book 7 ended?
I don't write in a straight line or with an outline. I write in little pieces, and they begin to stick together. I'll write something. 4 months later, I'll write something, and I'll think, oh, this explains why that happened, so I'll bring it over here. Reading through this bigger piece, I can see what has to happen next, and so I write that. It's like playing Tetris in my head, but very slowly. Yeah, but anyway, when the shape is complete, the book is done. Yeah, lady in the red here.
Can you tell us what the other two novellas of Three will be?
Oh, what will the other two novellas be? Yeah, well, obviously, the first one is Virgins, which is the story about Jamie and Ian as very young mercenaries in France. Yeah, that's actually in print in an anthology called Dangerous Women. I don't know if that's being published in Germany yet, but yeah, it is. Okay. So you can read that already if you want to. But let's see, the second one, I think, is the story of Hal and his wife, Minnie, and how they met and a few things like that. But I'll have to start writing it to see if they're live or not. I've never talked to either of them, directly. I always see Hal through Claire's eyes and Minnie through Lord John's. So if it's just them, I don't know whether they'll have chemistry or not. We'll have to see. But that's what I'm thinking at the moment. And the third one is a Lord John story. I don't know what it will be about yet. Since he is a military man, he has every excuse for being in a lot of different interesting places. And what I do with him really is look at my almanac of historical events and see what was going on at this particular time. So I will look in 1761 and see if there were any interesting battles going on. If there were, he might be, at the siege of Havana or something like that. And then we'll devise the story around that. Oh, yes, there you are.
Do you get sometimes remarks like George R.R. Martin gets, finish your story before you die, or something like that? No, that's originally what GRRM is getting all the time. Finish your damn story.
Finish your story before you die, you fat slob. And George has very rude fans. Mine are luckily much more polite than that. No, I do get occasional people, but it's more they say, stop wasting time, traveling everywhere, stay home and read. Or, stop wasting time posting things online, get back to writing. Which, is actually rather rude of them, but it's more polite than George's fans. Yeah, no, luckily I write much faster than George does, and I have 8 books in print that my TV show isn't going to catch up with me. Anyone in the center, great. Oh, no, someone next to you, yeah.
What about Claire inspires you?
What about Claire inspires me?
Yeah.
I don't know, she just showed up and there she was. As I say, she sort of walked in as a full-blown character. It's like, I can't say that she inspires me exactly, it's just that she's willing to show me what she's thinking all of the time.
Yeah. What do you admire in her? Or something that
What do I admire her? Oh, well, she's a woman who knows her own worth and doesn't allow other people to take her at less than that. Yeah, there's someone there, yeah.
Do you have a favorite character?
Do I have a favorite character? Well, actually, I have lots of them. Yeah, I really enjoy Claire, Jamie, Roger, and Lord John especially, but I like the others as well. Oh, and there's Black Jack Randall. I enjoy him. But, we lost him after the last book, so I don't think I will write anything about him in retrospect. On the other hand, there is still a third Randall brother who's still alive. We might hear some more. But again, I don't know. We'll have to find out. Anyone in the center here? No? Okay. And, well, yeah, you had a question already, but that's Dan again. Oh, during which scene did I cry most when I wrote it? Well, I don't know. It's hard to quantify, if you have just dissolved, And let's see, one of the most moving ones was the letter that Claire wrote to Brianna, her farewell letter, because I have kids. Let's see, there's someone over here. Oh, I saw him. No? Okay. Thank you. Oh, what is it like to have the books made into a TV show? It's fascinating. And it's great, but it's because they're doing a good job. If they were doing a bad job, I'd be really horrified. But no, they've done a nice job. Well, yeah, this is always a problem with an adaptation, in that you can fit a lot more in a book than you can fit into any kind of visual medium. So yeah, you're always going to have to make decisions about what can we use, what will we have to lose, and so forth. And the decisions are often very wrenching for the production people, many of whom are fans of the books. But it has to be done because they only have 16 episodes. And, the book in audio, by the way, they're about to have an unabridged audio of Outlander available in German, which is very exciting. They told me yesterday it will be 37 hours of reading, so you can see just how big they are. And it's on here.
I've been listening to the podcast with Scotland Assassinat.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you heard about it.
No, I haven't.
They're discussing Outlander and the series, and the guy in this podcast has the theory that you use birds as a symbol for emotions. I can't come up with a really good example, but he has the feeling that you externalize birds in emotional schemes.
If I do, it's not on purpose.
Amazing theory, and I just wanted to ask.
Yeah. Well, I can't say he's wrong. I'd have to go and look, but as I say, I'm not doing it on purpose. Maybe it's my subconscious thinking of things. Yeah, going further toward the end. Yeah, in the scarf.
Why did you let Ian Murray die in book 7? It was so sad.
Why did I let Ian Murray die in book 7? Well, I had known he was dying ever since book 2. I knew he had contracted tuberculosis, but it was luckily a slow-moving form, so we got to keep him for quite a long time. But I knew he was going. He was one of the casualties of the Jacobite Rising, even though he wasn't killed in battle. I mean, this is the problem. The problem with books is that people do die. I don't ever kill them, but they do die. It's very upsetting, If I could have kept Murtaugh alive or Ulrich Christian, I would have done that. Oh, yes.
How do you pronounce Brianna?
Oh, how do I pronounce Brianna? Well, most Americans would say Brianna, and Jamie pronounces it in the Scottish way, Brianna. Yeah. And the lady there.
How do you remember the many names of the characters in the book? Blackboard, your home,
I really asked that, but no. No. Yes, how do I remember the names of the characters, or the characters themselves, I suppose. And, well, it's like, how do you remember the people in your life? I mean, how do you know the guy you woke up to this morning was your husband? I just know them, so I don't forget them. You know, it's not like I make them up. It's like they pop into my mind, and I can see the gentleman back there.
Talking about Brianna, is there anything about the casting, Roger, Brianna, anyone of the second book, who is quite important in the future?
I know something about the casting, but I'm not allowed to tell you. No, I am a consultant. I'm part of the production. It's actually in my contract. Okay, and one more here. I have a guilty pleasure. And what is it? Well, I don't know. I read all the time, but I can always, claim that that's for research. But I do it for fun, actually. Oh no. I almost never watch television for one thing, but what I do is usually get the DVDs of some show that I've either heard good things about or have seen a bit of. I think the last thing I watched all the way through was True Blood, which got kind of flaky toward the end. It was a pretty good show. See, I've got Breaking Bad, and I've watched the first episode, but I haven't watched the rest of it yet. I'm halfway through the 6th season of Doctor Who. I just have not had any time to watch anything lately. But really, I would not be watching. Well, let's put it this way: I have no sense of guilt, which is an odd thing for a Catholic to say, but I really don't. I will admit just about anything to anybody. I don't feel self-conscious about liking one thing or another because why shouldn't I? Okay, I think okay. Here you go.
Do the cases of the characters in the series influence your writing? Do they change the way you see the characters or write the characters?
Oh, no, they don't. I have always been able to have parallel images of a movie and a book, for instance, and keep my impression of the book people, even while enjoying the ones in the movie. It may take a moment of relocation, but it's fairly easy. And in fact, I had known that Sam Heughan was going to be Jamie since a long time before he actually looked like Jamie. In fact, when they called to tell me they had cast Jamie, I was astonished because they'd only been looking for 4 days, and everyone thought, oh, this is going to be really hard. Well, what Meryl Davis told me was, she said, I thought we looked for 6 months, and then finally he turned out to be the UPS man or something. But they found him right away, and they said, we're so excited, we're sending you his audition tape. And I said, yeah, great, what's his name? And they told me. So I was traveling at the time. I couldn't watch the tape till I got home that evening. So I was next to my husband Googling on my iPhone as we drove, and they were bringing up Sam's IMDb page. That's the International Movie Database. And Sam's been working since 2002, and he's a fairly successful actor, but he's not been in anything very big, just 2 or 3 very small movies, and an episode of something here, half a season of another show there, just little bits and pieces, a lot of stage work. So there wasn't really much to see on his page in terms of pictures, and the few headshots they had were kind of strange looking. He's a very chameleonic actor. He looks totally different in each role. And as you can see, he's got a really chiseled face, and depending on who he's being at any one moment, it looks totally different. So I was looking at these really strange shots, and I was thinking, this man is grotesque. What are you thinking? As I always tell people, grotesque does not mean ugly. It means strikingly unusual, which is what he is. Anyway, I was kind of dubious about this, but we got to the home, and I keyed up the audition tape, and I'm looking through my fingers, and 5 seconds in, I said, well, he looks great. He doesn't look anything like his photos. 5 seconds more, he's gone, and it's just Jamie right there. And this was without costumes, without makeup, no set, nothing. He had black hair and was wearing a t-shirt, and he was Jamie right there. I said, okay, cool. So I like him with the ginger hair and the curls. He's naturally curly, by the way, which he wasn't. He had it all plastered down, and as I say, it was... well, it looked black on the film. He said it's actually 4 different colors at the moment from the last parts he'd been playing. Yeah, and you had one more question.
Yeah, where did you get your inspiration from? Like, does it just pop out of your
get inspiration? Well, every writer gets inspiration from absolutely everywhere. You get it from your own experience, your own perceptions, things that you hear, see, taste, smell, music you listen to. Almost anything can trigger a scene, because it isn't like you're just taking chunks out of real life and then putting them down on the page the way they are in your mind. It's that something you see, it triggers a thought. What I need to write any day is what I call a kernel, a line of dialogue, a vivid image, an emotional feeling, anything I can sense concretely. And I'll write that down very carefully, and I'll sit there and stare at those 2 lines and take words out and put them back and move things around. Then all the while, the back of my mind is kicking up questions. You know, what time of day is it? How is the light falling? Is there anyone in the room with me? And so forth. And it begins to grow very slowly back and forth. The funny scenes, though, those are between characters who just take off and start talking. I'm not engineering those at all. I'm just listening to what they say and writing it down. Yeah. Anyway, we should stop there before you all cook and leave time for books to be signed. So I believe we're doing that on the next floor down.
Yeah.
So give me a minute to get down there before you.
Ich könnte noch eine Sache anfügen, sollte jemand doch Probleme gehabt haben, irgendwas zu verstehen. Dianas Website ist dianagabaldon.com. Da ist eine kleine deutsche Fahne in der Ecke. Wenn Sie da draufklicken, da gibt es einen Blog. Viele von den Fragen bzw. von den Antworten, die sie hier gegeben hat, stehen da auch als Blog-Einträge. Ja, und Signierstunde.